How's it going, everyone? This is Paul Garcia of Project Spurs, bringing you a quick update on the San Antonio Spurs waiving Joe Wieskamp and setting their team roster for the regular season. So on Monday, the Spurs had a choice to make. They had 16 players on deals, and they had to waive a player on guaranteed deals, should I say. And so they had to waive a player, and that player, it came down to either Romeo Langford or Joe Wieskamp, and the Spurs decided to waive Joe Wieskamp instead of Langford. So Wieskamp, if we go back to July when he re-signed with the Spurs, he signed for a 2-year deal for $4.4 million. Now $2.2 million was guaranteed for this season, so he's still going to get that money, that 2.175 million right here. And then the other 2.2 million was non-guaranteed for next season. So because they waived him now, that money they don't have to pay him that money for next off season. And so once he clears waivers, he will be a unrestricted free agent. So he does join Danilo Gallinari as a second player this year on the team that's not currently on the team, but he's still getting paid for being on the team. So that's Wieskamp. Now the player that they decided to go with, who ended up winning that spot out, was Romeo Langford. So Romeo Langford, if we remember, he was part of the Derek White trade last year in February, and so he didn't get a lot of run because he was injured toward the end of last season. And then this year in the preseason, he played in every game, but just a little bit. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of guards and wings in front of him in the rotation, as we've talked about. But this is an opportunity for him to try to to really impress the Spurs and try to do a lot this year, because he will be a restricted free agent this coming off season. And so if he plays really well, the Spurs really like something out of him, well, then this coming summer they can make him a restricted free agent if they tender him a $7.8 million qualifying offer. So again, that's Romeo Langford, who will remain on the team. And something that Matthew Tynan tweeted was that Keita, Bates-Diop and Trey Jones, they both had non-guaranteed deals because they're going to make the opening night roster. The Spurs have already submitted that roster to the NBA. Their deals will now become guaranteed once that date passes of opening night. So Trey Jones is $1.7 million this season, and also Keita, Bates-Diop at $1.8 million. Now, as far as if you're wondering, did the Spurs lose some cap space because they waived Wieskamp? No, they didn't. Because Wieskamp already had a guaranteed salary for this season, his number, his $2.1 million was already put into the cap space that was projected. So again, they still have right now, they have $30 million in open cap space. This team, whether Joe was on the team or not, that money was still going to be there. Even if they waived Langford, that money was still going to be $30 million in open cap space. So as far as any future trade moves, yes, this team can still make trade moves if they want to take like a big contract that a team's trying to get rid of for future draft picks. That's a possibility still, because again, they have that $30 million just sitting there right now at the moment. Now, what happens if they don't end up making a trade and they just end up keeping this roster intact? Let's say they get all the way to the end of the season and the season ends and they still have this roster intact. So they haven't hit what's called the salary floor. So they're about $17.6 million from that salary floor. So if they haven't reached that amount, they haven't used that cap space, well, then that just means that all the players that are left on the team, these 15 players on guaranteed deals, they're going to get a nice check there at the end of the year if the Spurs don't use that money. So again, that's kind of a quick update on the San Antonio Spurs' roster as of Monday, with the team now waiving Joe Wieskamp. So they have 15 players now on guaranteed deals and 2 players on 2-way contracts. So their roster is maxed out at the moment. So that was just a quick update for Project Spurs. I am Paul Garcia.